Let justice roll like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Let justice roll like waters.
I got raped by 2 guys when I was 14, and then I ended up in the hospital for attempted suicide right after that. And then they decided, well, my mom's boyfriend decided that I was doing it for attention, and he kicked me out when I was 15.
Let justice roll like waters.
I was 15 when I became homeless.
It was hard, and I had a dog at the time. It was about 2 or 3 years old. When we went on the streets, I had him for about 2 weeks on the streets, and then I had to give him to the shelter.
And righteousness like an ever-flowing stream.
I was 15 at the time when I found out and I knew I was homeless.
If you care about violence against women and children, if you care about poverty, if you care about civil rights, if you care about substance use, anything you care about is somehow illustrated and existing in the experience of homelessness. Not in homeless people, they're not a kind of person, but in the experience of homelessness.
My friends would tell me, like, your dad can get a better place in this, why doesn't he try, this and that and this, and I'm like, well, my dad's not like your parents. Your parents have a job, they can work, my dad can't. He actually became disabled, and then he had to stay home, and he couldn't do anything else after that.
I was almost 17 when I had to leave my home.
They're victims of the circumstances in which they're in, and they have no choice. I've had children that are 4 years old ask me if they're going to always be homeless. I mean, what a vocabulary to have, a concept to have at the age of 4, to understand what homelessness is. That's not right. And so the children that are in that situation are there through no fault of their own.
My dad had a heart attack, and then he couldn't work, but he still worked. And then he had a hernia problem. And then we couldn't pay the rents. It was hard because it was like we had to get rid of a lot of our stuff, and we had to get rid of our cat. I was 11 when we moved out of the apartment.
I think ultimately, if we're going to solve this whole question of homelessness, it's a systemic issue. We have to look at how our system is set up and why don't we have enough housing for people can afford to live. What does that say about the system? I mean, people working 12 hours a day and still not being able to survive in our communities and in our society. The person's not broken. The system's broken.